Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I am a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on April 30th, 2021 at roughly 7:31 p.m. PST. So, tell me, have you managed to pick something out that you're not content with in your life? In order to get your life turned around, okay, to get it going where you desire it to be, it doesn't matter where you come from. Doesn't matter anything about your past, no matter who you are. You are where you are today because of everything you've gone through in the past. You cannot alter whatever's gone on in the past, no matter how short a time ago it is. You can't alter the fact it's happened. But, okay, you can take what you've done and go, okay, where am I standing right now? What am I not content with? And where do I go from here? You can direct where your future goes. Now, in the process of doing that, some people are going to agree with you, some of them are not. Okay, that's their issue, not yours. You're not going to make everybody happy, no matter how hard you try. Okay, so what you look at is be true to you first. Okay, now whatever energy you're putting out there, whatever you're putting your effort into, that's what you're stacking the deck in favor of make happen. Prime example, now, I was going to do that, and we'll go this way. Okay, in order for this world to straighten itself out, it's going to take that was really poor pronunciation. It's going to take each and every single one of us, from every race, every species, every form of existence that is out there, all of them that are connected on this planet. And just to be clear, this is our first world. Regardless of where you are in this world, this is our first world. Okay. Now, there are some people that will claim that mankind didn't start here. We were seeded from another star system. It doesn't matter. If you're here, it's your first world. And that's ignoring past lives. With that in mind, it's going to take all of our effort to bring this world back into balance. Now, right now, it's a shambles. You know, the religious side, the spiritual guidance, is propagating a staggering amount of fear. You know, every time I talk to people, not every time, but the greater majority of times I talk to people about religion of any form, okay, they really start off on an interesting stunt. Are you afraid of God? You know, they'll start with, do you believe in God? Or whatever they're calling it. And then they'll go, are you afraid of them? You know, do you fear God? Or do you fear whoever they call it? I refuse to fear anything that I'm going to turn around and look to for guidance. Okay, I will question absolutely everything. And I'm not saying believe in everything I tell you. Okay, this is simply, for lack of a better way of looking at it, this is my opinion across the board. Okay, you don't have to agree with it. You don't have to believe it. The reality is, if you take a look at your life right this moment, are you content with the way your life is going? If the answer is yes, that's absolutely fantastic. Let other people know how you got there. You know, please, because mine is not the only path. But every tool that I offer people is a tool that, if it applies to my life, I'm using it. Okay, but it's going to require all of us working together. Now, it did not take only one person to create this disaster we've got on the planet. And for those of you that want to point the finger and go, the politicians are to blame, you know, the political leaders, the religious leaders are to blame, or the elites are all responsible for it. Guess what? You're responsible for your own issues. People that have addictions, that turn around and go, it's so-and-so's fault that I'm drinking, or it's so-and-so's fault that I do drugs. No, it ain't. Unless you happen to be one of these extremely rare people that somebody is sitting down and, you know, pinning you down and pouring alcohol into your throat, or stuffing a cigarette in your mouth and lighting it. Okay. Unless they are doing that, then they are not to blame. You are. Okay, my mess that I went through for the first chunk of my life is my responsibility. Yes, I could have made better choices. Yes, there were things that happened around me that I can certainly say, if you will, pointed me in that direction, usually because I didn't know how to cope with them. But the reality is, if you've got a problem in your life, you're the one responsible for it. You're also the one responsible for getting out of it. Now, this said, absolutely turn to the people around you. Talk to them. Talk to the people that you know that have gone through it. Okay, how do you deal with a near-death experience? Well, I can't tell you how you deal with it, but I can certainly tell you how I did. Okay, been there, done that. For me, it was kind of a riot, but that's a whole long story. Okay, like I don't fear a spiritual guide, I don't fear death either. Okay, got to know him a long time ago. That's another story unto itself. But back to the point at hand. Have you picked anything in your life that you're not really content with? If the answer is yes, if you're not content with it, then the task at this point is to change it. It doesn't matter what you change it to. Okay, if you take, for instance, if you take something you're not content, I was thinking something got sidetracked. If you take something you're not content with, and you identify that's not making you happy, then alter that to something. It doesn't matter what you alter it to, because the reality is, when you alter it, if it doesn't come out as something you're happy with, you can always redo it. You can always change it again. Now, you can't change the fact that you did it, that you changed it in the first place, but you can change it to something else. Okay, so the first karmic law is real simple. Be true to yourself first. Now, I heard it put one day, I was talking to somebody about the issue of explanation or trying to understand things, and the gentleman looks at me and goes, look, when you're dealing with things, okay, you never have to explain yourself to anybody if it's a personal choice. Now, there are extenuating circumstances. For instance, if you happen to live with people, and especially in the case of people living with their parents, okay, if you're doing something, you may have to explain to them what you're up to. Okay, but where it comes to, if you're living on your own or if you're in dominant control of a home, you don't have to explain it, because as this guy put it, your friends don't require an explanation and your enemies don't deserve one. So when I tell people things, when people ask me questions, it's like, this is what I'm doing. Well, why are you doing that? Well, because I chose to. I do not often explain the wherewithal. Okay, however, that said, if you have questions, there are a list of contact points below this video, okay, to reach out, to connect with me. And like with the videos, I will give you a straightforward answer, as clear as I can. Okay, now these videos are all live, meaning I do not go back over them and edit anything out of them. The stumbles, the trips that I make on them, all of this are me. So if you ever run into me in person and you ask me a question, I'll come across the same way. I just don't see the point in trying to alter the way I'm doing things. Okay, it's so much easier to just be me, and you'll find it real easy to be you. Okay, so much easier than trying to be something that somebody else may think, that you think somebody else may think you should be. Okay. Now, when you've identified something you're not content with, make a change to it. Doesn't matter what it is. Okay, people talk about things being painful, change being painful, change being difficult. Well, you'll notice I keep putting my hand up here. Well, the reason being, my hair has gotten a little unruly here. So, something I am going to be doing in the next couple of weeks here is, frankly, I'm going to go get it all tidied up. which is weird for me. I haven't done that in 10 years, aside from once right at the beginning of this year. So I am going to be going back. Okay, but that's because I desire to make the change. Okay, now, where is it? It is. Right here. This funny little thing here. I was really happy with this. Okay. And this is one of the reasons, I know, what can be so special about that? It's a leather jacket. The thing that's so special about it for me is real simple. Okay. Roughly 20 years ago, I lost the thing. Okay. Amazingly, it still fits. But when my marriage ended, I managed to maintain a friendship with my ex. And net result, the other day, she found that again. So she gives me a call. She gives me a call and says, "Would you like it back?" Now, that's a change that I desired. I was looking for it. I've got it back. If you're not happy with things, start making adjustments. But remember, you're the only person that can make adjustments for you. You're the only one that can be successful for you. Okay, I was talking to somebody today that literally said, I wasn't happy with where my education went. I did not do what I wanted, but I've now taken it under in my control, and I've started going after it. This particular individual is going after the completion of his education because he chose to. Okay, take anything you're not content with and alter it. Okay, now the reality is, and I've talked about this many times, I only look at 3 laws. Be true to yourself first. Do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. And energy out, energy in. Now, in my opinion, if we all start straightening out our own homes and talk to the people around us that are doing the same thing, eventually what will happen, and it will be a very long, drawn-out process, but it didn't take us overnight to get to this state. But we will turn this world back around where we can eliminate war, we can eliminate famine. Okay, disease is kind of part of life. So we're still going to have to work on that for a while for the time being. But together we can make this world a better place. Now, this the way I started thinking about things today, and I wanted to explain something. And unfortunately did not do what I was supposed to. So I will have to deal with that. But I think tomorrow what's going to happen is I'm going to go over the way that energy works, like in detail, so that you can understand when we're talking about Feng Shui. Feng Shui, usually you read about it in Eastern philosophies. Now, it's a great way of looking at things, and it explains it very well. The only catch is, Eastern philosophy, it works really well over there because the entire culture is built that way. Where it comes to Western philosophy, the entire culture isn't built that way, so you can't do it the same way. But what you can do is, for instance, okay, in this set of shelves here, tonight when I get done the video, the first thing I'll be doing is going through the drawers beside me here and altering them so they do exactly what I desire them to do, because I'm going to be putting all of my all my tracking information right here. So it will be in these shelves. You can't see the shelf, I realize that. I'm touching right here, the top of a shelf. Okay, but the video doesn't work to show you much, I don't think, unless... Does that work? Nope, not really. Well, now that we've moved you all over the place, what the heck? I'm going to be altering everything so that the energy in this area is my financial tracking and the records I'm working with, which are this filing cabinet right here. And again, it boils down to this. If I put all of the energy there where the finances are, okay, starting at this sign up here that says, we have legally attained a minimum of $2,000 by 1 minute to midnight on April 30th of 2021. Now, the neat part about that is I know for an absolute fact, because I looked at it a little earlier, I managed to get that far. I managed to make that goal, and I managed to make the goal that I've got for my own company, Inner Voice Enterprises, where I wrote down Inner Voice Enterprises has legally generated a minimum of $200 by April 30th, 2021 at 1 minute to midnight. Now, I know for an absolute fact, I've already looked at it, numbers came in, I hit those goals. Now what I'll do is for next month, tomorrow I will build a different sign that gives me a different goal for May. Okay, this is just one of the tools that I use to take energy from the upper realms, pull it into the material world where it can be made manifest. I strongly encourage you to do the same thing. So I've got my financial side is here. Okay, I haven't quite figured out. I think this is just going to be in some of my entertainment, some of my writing stuff. Oh yes. Speaking of writing stuff, and this is going completely off track, but I was quite happy with this. Now this figure I just picked up the other day. Okay, this little character here, the story that I wrote, okay, the novel I wrote, okay, is called, the novel I wrote is Yldrbac. Okay, it's an entire series. But this young lass here, this was a beautiful rendition of it, and you can see her. This is a perfect rendition, beautiful representation of it, of one of the primary characters, one of the primary background characters in the story. So I ended up picking her up, and what I'm actually doing now is looking for figures, if I can't make them myself, which I've got a few of them being built. Okay, and I'll do another video. I'll go into that in more detail afterwards. Okay, not right now. But when you start putting your energy in, like, start with your office would be my recommendation, where it comes to getting your finances in order. Wherever you work on your finances, start there. Because I will tell you this, the first thing in your life that you will find is that money does not care how you feel. But if you can get the money running smoothly, you will find that you personally feel a whole lot better. I know when I was looking at things before, I'd be taking a look at bills, and you take a look at your bill, it comes in, you're going, oh, I can't afford to pay this right now, so I'm just going to put it aside and ignore it until I make sure my rent is paid. Well, I got past that. At this point, I can quite comfortably get a bill coming in, and I go, oh, look, it's a bill. This is how much it is. So I'm going to go and pay it. And I've got the money in the bank to be able to do that. Now, I cannot complain. I cannot tell you really how much better I feel having finances turned around. And I know you're sitting there going, well, you're being in good shape. That's great. But unfortunately, I feel like garbage because I'm still way behind the 8 ball. That sign that I put up there, that I've got above me, that says we have legally attained a minimum of X dollars by April 30th, 2021 at 1 minute to midnight. Make a sign for yourself and put it wherever you work on your finances. Okay, but that X dollars is however much money it costs you to run your house, to pay your rent or your mortgage, your utilities, your transportation, your insurance, and for pity's sakes, don't forget reasonable food. Now, it was told, and my dad used to have a beautiful saying, he'd go, take care of the pennies and the dollars will take care of themselves. Okay, if you do that, you will find your life gets... Well, sorry about that. That came right out of nowhere. Just a minor annoyance. Anyway, my father used to say very, very concisely, well, just gotta make sure that's recording. My dad used to say, if you take care of your pennies, the dollars will take care of themselves. Okay, there's a lot of platitudes that come up that I've heard over the years. Most of them actually make sense. Some of them that people have used with dealing with me. One of the best that I like that somebody made the comment of, and I looked at him and I says, "Why? Like, where did you get that?" Somebody made a comment to me one day. They were talking about how much they hated smokers, and they turned around and in front of a bunch of other people went, smoking is like kissing. Kissing somebody that smokes is like kissing a dirty ashtray. I looked at the guy and I went, what genius was it that kissed the dirty ashtray to figure that out? Okay, now, to me, it was just kind of an odd thing to say. But, I mean, whatever works for people. But if you take a look, like, I started working in this area, okay, the one right around me, and I realize you can't exactly see it. You just see me looking over here periodically, actually quite frequently. But start with your office and start working on controlling your finances. Now, absolutely, I am not a trained financial advisor. I can simply tell you what I did to make things work. And if you've got questions, if you're having trouble, drop me a line. I'll be more than happy to point you in the right direction. I've been dealing with people, like my profession for the last several decades has been consulting for people on personal and business events. Okay, and it doesn't make any difference what it is. I've probably dealt with it, considering the fact that not only am I versed in that side, I'm also a specialist in ancient races and off-worlders. In other words, aliens, non-humans, and their technologies. Okay, as well as a published author in 5 different genres. So, and does this make me better than you? Absolutely not. I mean, heck, some of you have got your head on straight and you're only like in your 20s. Lord knows I wish I'd done that. But here I am. In a couple of weeks, I'll be 58. Okay, and I was always told, probably the same as you have to have your life in order by the time you're 20 in order to get ahead. It's a cute idea. I love it. Problem is that, in my experience, with over 80,000 clients under my belt, I found that most people are somewhere in their late 40s to early 50s by the time they figure out what they'd like to do. Okay, now, when you get the energy moving in the right way, what you'll find is things start to move a whole lot more smoothly. And of course, for me, it really boiled down to this. Get the finances under control, and the rest of my stress is easier to cope with. If I know I've got a roof over my head, I'm in good shape. Okay, now, I'm not in perfect shape by any functional stretch, and I've got a long way to go. But there are a lot of things, and I'm doing my best to document a lot of them. Yes, on the journey, I find that I go back over the same thing multiple times. I question why I do that so much. But I think I question that too. I'm pretty certain the reason I repeat myself so much is almost to convince myself that I'm on the right path. And I'll tell you, considering the difference between what I felt like before and what I feel like now, it's working. Okay, this is why I keep a list of things to get accomplished that I'm aiming for. And as soon as I get done this video tonight, I've got a whole pile more things I got to get done. Like, I just don't settle down much. Okay, and of course I'll get on a run and then I'll forget to go to bed, which usually means normally by 10:30, 11 o'clock, I'm pretty much zonked. Okay, but if I get in the right run, I'll be running until 3 o'clock in the morning and not even blink. Okay, which is likely what's going to happen tonight if things keep going the way they are. But you pick one thing you're not content with and start altering that. Don't try and alter everything at the same time. It becomes way too chaotic and you don't see the progress. If you pick small things to do, okay, like for instance, take a section of your desk and go, that's the first section I'm going to clear out. When it's out of the way, now move to the next one. And you go one step at a time. It's like if you're trying to move a whole pile of junk out of the way, a whole pile, for instance, gravel or dirt. you do it one shovelful at a time. You don't try and dig out of this side, and you don't pick and choose all the way around it. You start at one end and work your way through. And that's the same thing with breaking that neat little syndrome of pancreatitis. Okay, I don't know if that's what they call it. That's what I call it. I used to be a staggering pack rat. But if you pick one spot and you start expanding from there and start clearing the stuff out of the way, pretty quick, you're going to eliminate all the clutter. Okay, and remember, especially when you're going through old boxes, if you haven't been into said box in a year, the odds are you don't require whatever's in it. Although there will be some keepsakes you don't want to get rid of. This is pretty much a given for everybody. Some things you desire to hang on to, some things not so much so. But where it comes to the energy to make that happen, okay, and tomorrow I'm going to, I think, Lord knows. Anyway, I am striving to get a little bit more organized in the way I'm presenting things, instead of them going around in circles all the time and repeating the same thing. So, quite frankly, if you've got questions, if you've got ideas, absolutely drop me a line at one of the points below, and I'll be more than happy to respond to it and to address it, potentially in another video, depending on what the questions are. Okay, and before anybody asks, no, if you ask me what the name of people I've dealt with, I'm not going to give them to you. Okay, I do not involve other people's names in what I'm talking about, and only minimal reference points to tell you what the connection is. Usually that's because I slip up in the sense. But I do keep these short for a reason. So, pick something you're not content with and start altering it. If you've got something that's a big issue and you're not quite certain how to approach it, drop me a line at the contact points below, and I will do my best to give you some sort of direction that I've seen work. Either that has worked for me or has worked for enough people that I've got backup from other people to say this method worked. Prime example there is if you're trying to quit smoking, I never started. I can tell you how to quit without withdrawal that has been tested on multiple people over the decades. But I never started smoking, and I'm not about to start smoking to test the method. Okay, with this in mind, give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, because I'd like to ideally get this message out to everybody on the planet that we can, working together, make this a better world for all. We can eliminate war, we can eliminate famine, but it's going to require us doing it together. We can also, by the way, eliminate pollution, or at least cut it massively back, and I'll discuss that at a different point. Until then, and until we meet again, which, by the way, will be tomorrow, sometime, until then, take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.